Okay, let's dive into this explainer. So today we're tackling a massive, kind of unspoken challenge in the analytics world. We are talking about crossing that enormous chasm from being just a mere data processor, the person who just cranks out reports all day, to actually becoming an indispensable data strategist. If you have ever felt like your analytical work is fundamentally disconnected from the actual real-world decisions being made in your organization, well, you are in exactly the right place.
For every analyst who has ever produced brilliant work that nobody acted on. Ouch, right? Does that sting a little bit? Because it absolutely should. This really hits at a deep emotional pain point in the analytics community. We call it the analyst's graveyard. It's that tragic, frustrating place where brilliant, technically flawless, beautifully formatted dashboards just go to be completely and utterly ignored by decision makers. We've all been there. But today, we're going to look at the map for exactly how to escape it.
Our guide for this whole journey is Hassan Gassim. Hassan is a data analyst and AI practitioner, and he's put together this truly masterful framework called the Analyst's Mindset. And listen, his technical foundation is rock solid. You can see that just by checking out his digital footprint across his GitHub repos, his Kaggle profile, and his LinkedIn. But his core conviction, the real secret sauce to becoming indispensable, isn't actually about learning yet another coding language. It's a fundamental intentional mindset shift. It is all about how you think, not just what you code. And by the way, he's super accessible. So if you want to connect with him, you can easily reach out via his email, LinkedIn, or check out his work on GitHub and Kaggle.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how we visualize analytical excellence. Imagine it as a grid. Going across the bottom, horizontally, you've got your technical depth, your SQL, your Python, your R, your fancy dashboarding skills. But moving up the vertical axis, you have your business judgment, your grasp of context, strategy, and human communication. Here is the harsh reality check for us all. Technical tools are just the floor. They get you in the door of the building. But business judgment, that is the ceiling of your actual impact. If you only ever grow horizontally, you're just going to bottleneck your own career.
Which brings us right face to face with what Hassan calls the tool trap. It's this super seductive but totally false belief that if you just learn Spark or if you just master one more shiny new BI platform, you will magically be invited into the strategy room. I want to directly challenge you right now. Are you falling into the tool trap? Are you spending all of your time obsessing over how to query the data while completely neglecting the why behind the data in the first place?
Let me share this fantastic anecdote from the source text that literally hits the nail on the head. Imagine two analysts given the exact same data set to figure out a revenue issue. The first analyst builds this massive 40-slide data dump. It is technically impeccable, packed with charts and filters, and it completely puts the executive room to sleep. 0 decisions are made. But then, the second analyst walks in with just 3 slides and simply says, "We have a retention problem disguised as a growth problem. We're acquiring customers fast, but losing them in the first 60 days. Boom, the entire room wakes up. A decision is made right then and there. Same exact data, completely different impact.
And you know why that second analyst crushed it? Because they absolutely nailed the execution phase by asking one crucial question. Are you solving the right problem? You have got to stop taking stakeholder requests at face value. When someone comes up and says, "Hey, pull the sales data," they aren't actually asking for a pivot table. They are trying to understand the health of the business. You have to interrogate the framing of the problem itself before you ever even touch a database.
Because if you don't interrogate the problem first, your work is going to fall straight into one of these 3 death gaps of analysis. First up, the context gap. Sure, your math is perfectly right, but you miss the business reality, which makes your conclusion dead wrong. Second, the communication gap. You delivered raw regression outputs to a VP who literally just needed to know the campaign budget, totally missing the so what. And third, the timing gap. This one is brutal. A brilliant analysis delivered a week after the leadership offsite where the decision was already finalized is, well, a useless analysis. Always remember, data doesn't make decisions. People do.
Let's move to and see how this builds into a real solution. To survive those death gaps, Gasm offers a super practical diagnostic system, the frame model. It starts by focusing on the decision and rooting it in business context. From there, you approach with a hypothesis rather than just blindly browsing through tables. Then, you make the work visible by stripping away all the noise, and finally, evaluate your impact to see if human behavior actually changed. It's a really clear step-by-step diagnostic for your day-to-day work.
A brilliant way to uncover that business context is using the 5 whys technique.
Imagine the core symptom is just, hey, sales are down. Well, why? Because fewer deals are closing. Okay, why? The sales cycle is taking longer. Why? Because procurement approval is adding 3 extra weeks. Now think about it. If you just analyze the top-level sales numbers, you might recommend a massive marketing push. But by systematically asking why, you realize it's actually an internal process bottleneck. You literally just saved your company a massive amount of wasted time and money.
And honestly, that leads us to probably the single most powerful question an analyst can ever ask. What is the decision? If a stakeholder asks you for a dashboard, ask them right back, what decision is this dashboard actually going to help you make? If they can't answer that, you are not ready to start building. This question is the absolutely crucial bridge. It's what connects the abstract exploration of data to the concrete execution of business strategy.
This brings us to the whole metrics paradox. We have so much data floating around today that we are literally drowning in noise. We end up tracking all these vanity metrics, like raw page views or app downloads, that look super impressive and always seem to go up, but they tell us absolutely nothing about the actual health of the business. We become data-rich, but insight-poor. You have to fiercely protect that 20%, the metrics that actually drive decisions and represent the true signal.
But here's the catch. Even with the absolute perfect metrics, your own brain can still betray you. We have to constantly guard against cognitive traps. Confirmation bias will make you see only the data that supports your pet theory. Narrative bias will tempt you to smooth over messy data just to tell a really neat, clean story. And the precision illusion, that's when you fool yourself into thinking a number like 42.87% is more accurate just because it has decimals, even if the underlying data is a total mess. Listen, even the most rigorous analysts fall for these, which is exactly why we've got to build pre-delivery bias audits into our personal workflows.
So the crucial point here is that this all ultimately comes down to how you actually deliver your findings. We have to shift away from playing a purely passive informational role and start using data as persuasion. Now let's be clear, persuasion is not manipulation. Manipulation is hiding bad data. Persuasion is taking rigorous, honest evidence and connecting it directly to human stakes. It's using storytelling, like opening up with a specific anecdote about a real customer who churned, to make aggregate data feel real and urgent to a busy executive. It is proactive, it's targeted, and it drives action.
And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate evolution of the analyst. Quote, "The goal is to turn data into infrastructure, not just answers, but systems that keep generating answers." Think about it. If you're just answering ad hoc questions all day, you're basically fishing for your stakeholders. But when you build a data product, like an automated weekly risk digest or a self-serve scenario tool, you are building a net. You transition from someone who just answers random questions into someone who scales intelligence across the entire organization. That is how you become indispensable. Which leaves us with this final, genuinely vital question to ask yourself the very next time you sit down at your desk. Do your analyses merely inform people, or do they actually move them to action? The difference between those two things isn't your proficiency in Python or your SQL skills. The difference is the analyst's mindset. It's your business judgment, your problem framing, and your strategic communication. Keep all this in mind, and I promise you, you will completely rethink how you build your very next dashboard.